This is the BG Sports Show presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax.
And this is Sam.
Good Monday morning, Sam. How are you doing today? You doing good?
Wonderful. How are you?
I am excited. The weekend was fast-paced, but you know what? It was a good weekend,
How was the weekend? How was the trip?
It was good. I got to go out east
Other
to
way.
Baltimore.
There we go.
I know my compass is a little discombobulated this morning. I got to go out east, go visit Baltimore and
It's all
Richmond.
that jet lag.
Yeah, that 1 hour difference,
It's
it
true.
just totally messed with me. But no, it was good. Got to go call a few basketball games for the ABA and Sports Radio America as well, so it was a lot of fun. I got to meet Ben Wallace, former Detroit Pistons.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. The game that we called on Saturday in Richmond was at the Ben Wallace Gymnasium.
That's
he,
so cool.
Has this huge practice facility, and he was hanging out before the game. And it was one of those moments where you walk into a building, you see somebody famous, and your brain's like, oh, yeah, that's somebody famous. And then you're like, it actually hits you. You're like, oh, that's somebody famous. And then he came over and said hi to us. And he's like, hey, guys, thanks for coming. Great, glad to have you here. And I'm just like, shaking his head like, Mr. Wallace, I am not worthy, sir.
Ben Wallace, man. I just remember when he played for the Detroit Pistons back in the day. Ben Wallace, Rasheed Wallace, Tayshaun Prince, Chauncey Billups, Rip Hamilton.
Rip Hamilton. Was Rip the guy that had the face mask or whatever?
Those starting five, they were a ton of fun to watch.
They were so much fun. I know. I was like momentarily a Pistons fan,
for
that little bit, just like, dang, this is a pretty darn good team. So that definitely highlighted the majority of my weekend. What about you? What did you do with your life over the weekend?
Just laid low. It was
laid
nice.
low. Wow.
Yeah.
You, of all people?
I know.
Laid low. You're not exactly the lowest layer that I know, though.
No, it's true. It was nice. Just relax this weekend.
Well, that's good. Well, we also had something to celebrate as well, finally.
Go, Pack, go!
It's been 4 weeks since the Green Bay Packers won a frickin' football game, and they finally did it, so they took down the Minnesota Vikings, but we'll get into that in a little bit more detail a little bit later on in the show, but we want to take a moment right now to remind all of you that you can find us right here from 7-ish to 8-ish p.m. Central Time, a.m. on Spreaker.com and on Periscope as well. So good morning to all of you watching on Periscope. Great to see you this morning. Remember to ask your questions on Periscope and check in from wherever you are around the world and let us know what sports teams you support, whether internationally or domestically. You can also find us on Sports Radio America from 11 to 1 p.m. Central Time and on Live 365 and TuneIn and on demand on iHeartRadio, iTunes, and on Spreaker.com and on Podbean as well.
All right, and we are on social media at the BG Sports Show, which is our Facebook page. We are on Twitter at BG Sports Show. He is at Baxter Colbert, and I am at Samuel_Wallace2, and you can find us on Instagram at BG Sports Show.
Absolutely. All right, well, Sam, it was a very busy week in the NFL. A lot of playoff implications still on the line for many teams. As we mentioned briefly, as we'll talk about in full detail a little bit later on with the Packers and the Vikings, that had big playoff implications for the NFC North. Looking at some of the other games, though, Jacksonville, they got that Thursday night victory. I know we just briefly touched on it, but with that win, Jacksonville still puts themselves just a game out now of first place in the AFC North.
4-6.
I remember when only winning 4 games was enough to be considered for a first-place playoff berth. It's a little ridiculous in that regard, but Jacksonville still getting things done, so good for them.
Yep.
One game I was shocked about yesterday was the Lions taking down the Raiders. I think all the hype that we had put on the Raiders is kind of just slowly started to fall away. Not to say that what Derek Carr and company out there are doing isn't good, but how did you lose to the Lions?
Yeah, it was tough. It was very tough. Matthew Stafford was actually my fill-in fantasy quarterback for this week. And
did that work out for you?
Yeah, he scored 20 points, which is
not bad.
Quite a bit more than a lot of the fantasy quarterbacks scored this weekend. But yeah, to watch Derek Carr, Amari Cooper and Michael Crabtree man, they've been so dynamic this season.
No kidding,
to really see them just kind of fall flat on their face against the Lions and only put up 13 points in the third quarter wasn't encouraging.
No, I completely agree with you on that one. Yeah, so the Lions go to 3-7. There's really no playoff implications for them going down the stretch. All they can really do is play spoiler to anybody else in the NFC North, or just the rest of the season as a whole. So It's nice to see them finally getting their product kind of together, but still wasn't the greatest performance overall from the Lions. Colts took down the Falcons, proving once again that Atlanta is awful, and the Colts can only win if Matt Hasselbeck is on the field, because Andrew Luck is still out with his lacerated spleen or kidney or whatever's wrong with him.
Something's going on inside. But yeah, and big news for the Falcons, too. Devontae Freeman went down with a concussion injury early in the game. And so remains to be seen how his concussion protocol will go throughout the duration of this week to see whether he'll be back for next week or if he'll need to take a week off. I know the NFL's really been cracking down on that for good reason.
Absolutely. I hope so. Yeah, I heard that yesterday. I was like, oops, Sam's probably not going to be too happy about that. And I actually started him in a daily fantasy game that I played as well, too. I'm like, of course, Devonta Freeman got hurt.
Yeah.
He didn't even really do a lot before he got hurt either. One of those things, like if he had left 20 points on the field, like, oh, there you go, guys, there's a little bit of spot. Now I'm going to get hurt. But no.
4 points.
Yeah, that's not going to help anybody win any games. The Texans stayed in tie for first place in the AFC North with their victory over the Jets. The Jets dropped to 5-5. Texans go to 5-5. TJ Yates leads the Texans to their third straight win. Houston, I keep saying they need a better quarterback, but TJ Yates right now is answering the call. Sam, do you believe what Houston's doing?
All he has to do is get the ball to DeAndre Hopkins. That's really all a quarterback needs to do in Texas, I feel.
Yeah,
five catches, 118 yards, and 2 touchdowns for DeAndre Hopkins. He's proving why he's one of the best wide receivers in the league.
Absolutely. I mean, if you were to take the 2 best wide receivers in Texas, you put DeAndre Hopkins and Dez Bryant hypothetically on the same team, that would be a dynamic duo that no team would be able to stop consistently.
Yeah.
The Buccaneers staying relevant, and I'm sure one of our loyal listeners, Cam Fitch32 on Periscope and Twitter, will be thrilled to hear about that. His Buccaneers dropped 45 points yesterday on the Philadelphia Eagles.
On the road for the Buccaneers, too.
Huge win for them. Jameis Winston tosses 5 touchdowns. Doug Martin runs for 235 yards, but no touchdowns. Just decided to run around the field for a few hundred yards. When I saw that,
broke loose. Just broke loose 2 big plays. Yeah. I mean, that was really a lot of that came on 2 big runs, but still 235 yards.
That's a big day. Biggest career day, I think, of Doug Martin that he's ever had, honestly.
I hope so.
Another good game you see yesterday was the Broncos and the Bears. Brock Osweiler getting his first win as a starting NFL quarterback through 2 touchdowns, and on his birthday, and on the road. Broncos moved to 8-2. Bears go to 4-6.
Yeah, and again, Ronnie Hillman did a really, really nice job. And again, we've talked about this week in and week out. A way for a young quarterback to play well is to have a good running game to take the pressure off of him. And Hillman answered the call. 21 carries, 102 yards.
Yeah, this was a Broncos team that rushed for 170 yards yesterday, a season high 170 yards yesterday, and they certainly needed that help yesterday. And what was interesting, too, is the Broncos ran 17 plays under center yesterday. That is more than all of the starts that Peyton Manning has had in Denver.
Yeah.
So that's the type of offense they want to run. That's the type of offense that's going to be successful. If you are a Denver fan, you must be thrilled by that. Yeah. But the question is going forward, if Peyton Manning is healthy the rest of the year, does Peyton get started? Does Brock get started?
I think you could still bring Peyton back later in the year, but I think that the offense that they ran under Osweiler has shown to be effective. I know that's not the type of offense that Peyton is comfortable running. He doesn't like being under center. He likes being more in that pistol or shotgun formation. But, and again, look, I find it interesting that they had their best game on the ground when they didn't have, their best quarterback per se under center.
No, I agree with you on that one. I mean, when you try to run specifically out of shotgun, it's very difficult, and it's easy for the defense, at least, to read what's going to happen.
Exactly.
Baltimore had a bittersweet win yesterday as they won at home 16-13 after a great Justin Tucker late game-winning field goal. However, they did lose their starting quarterback, Joe Flacco. He is done for the year with, I believe, a torn ACL is what I heard from him. And running back Justin Forsett also broke his arm. No timetable on his return.
Crazy. Just fluke stuff. It's unfortunate. I was actually watching that game when Flacco tore his ACL. It was after the play. Everything was totally done. One of his offensive linemen went to go get up and rolled over right up the back of his leg.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, that's... Whenever you see that happen, you always just kind of cringe because it's always like whenever your leg gets rolled up on, and it can be a total fluke. Yep. He kind of went down, he kind of gimped up, but he finished the game.
That's what I heard. Yeah, he finished the game and helped win the game for them, but it may have ended up causing more damage than good, honestly.
Yeah, who knows?
So we'll see what happens with that. Baltimore moving to 3-7. St. Louis kind of in a tailspin. They go to 4-6. Dallas, shockeroo, they won. Tony Romo comes back, tosses 2 touchdowns, did throw 2 interceptions as well to make sure that he wasn't completely as good as folks wanted him to be. But he still had a pretty decent day through the air. Darren McFadden ran for 129 yards as well.
He looked good. He looked good even late in the game when the Cowboys were really trying to burn the clock.
Yeah,
there were back-to-back plays late in the fourth quarter where he cracked off 10 yards both times, 10 yards first down, clock runs.
Yep,
10
I saw
yards
that.
First down.
I was able to catch some of that game later on. It was a pretty good finish to that game, and I think it looked like the old Dallas team.
Mm-hmm. It really did.
But at this point, too, being 3-7, they still have a slight opportunity to still win the division.
They really do.
Yeah, it's a little sad, unfortunately. Carolina stayed undefeated. They put down 44 points on the Redskins yesterday. Cam Newton tossed 5 touchdowns and gave my fantasy football team the win, so thank you, Cam.
There you go. That's about all your fantasy team had this weekend.
I had a pretty bad week. I had Justin Forsett on my team, too, so that was
all you needed was Cam.
Put in Cam. Glad I traded for him. Not happy that I traded away Doug Martin.
I was going to say. That's another topic.
Going to have to play the trade game this week. The Chiefs went to San Diego and scored 33 points to the Chargers 3. Probably one of the worst performances the Chargers have turned in all season. They're losing by 30 to the 5-5 Chiefs now.
You know, in one of the most pass-happy offenses in the NFL, Phillip Rivers only throwing 178 yards, no touchdowns, 1 reception. I just find it interesting, too, that this is almost, in my opinion, typical Chiefs offense. They put up 33 points. Alex Smith does not throw a touchdown. 33 points. Spencer Ware, not even really sure who that is, 96 yards on the ground and 2 scores.
Yeah.
Dontari Poe, another unknown guy, had kind of one carry, 1 yard, 1 touchdown. There's 3 touchdowns on the ground. Then they had a pick 6 as well, and then a couple field goals. But
goodness.
Just the Chiefs really seem to score from just a lot of different ways.
They make it awkward. I mean, in terms of trying to follow them as a fan or even a fantasy owner, like who are you supposed to? Who would you own on the Chiefs? Probably nobody. Now that Jamal Charles is hurt, I tried owning Alex Smith for a little while. That didn't really work out.
I mean, Charkandrick West has been playing out of his mind the last few weeks, and he's put up equal numbers in his first 4 starts that Jamal Charles put up in his 4 starts, which tells you something.
It does, yeah. Sarkandrick West is going to be a fantastic player down the stretch. Finishing up the games in the NFL, Seattle dominated the 49ers at home, but nobody really doubted that at all. 29-13 victory there for Russell Wilson and company.
Yeah, Blaine Gabbert, I don't know. We'll see.
Whatever.
I don't think he's the answer, but...
No. Thomas Rawls ran 30 times for 209 yards yesterday and a touchdown. He was the leading fantasy scorer, barring some weird thing tonight. He had 36 points in standard fantasy leagues.
Yeah.
And then the late game to keep fans entertained to the bitter end.
Gosh, that was cool.
Arizona pulling away from Cincinnati 34-31 on a late field goal.
Definitely worth staying up for.
Absolutely. That's what I heard. I was not able to stay up because I was exhausted from waking up at 4 yesterday, but good for Arizona. They moved to 8-2. Bengals dropped to 8-2. They've lost now 2 in a row if you're Cincinnati. And if you're any NFL fan is saying, see, they keep losing. They're not good.
The Bengals, they're still in second place in the AFC,
which is
still
shocking.
The number 2 seed.
That is true, but if you're Arizona, you've got to be thrilled by that. So, all right, well, before we jump off to a break, we'd like to take a moment to thank one of our sponsors of the BG Sports Show. That would be Student Debt Center. You can call them today to have your student loan payment reduced by calling 855-401-3508.
That number again is 855-401-3508. Back with more after the break.
Welcome back to the BG Sports Show, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax.
And this is Sam.
Just a reminder for all of you wonderful folks, there is a new platform that you can find the BG Sports Show at. Sam, did you know that?
It's new.
It is.
It's new. It's exciting.
It's shiny. It's pretty. It's on Podbean, podbean.com. If you can go to podbean.com right now and you can find the BG Sports Show. Did you know that, Sam?
Yeah, you can download the Podbean app today from your smartphone, or you can go to bgsportshow.podbean.com and catch all the latest news. That's bgsportshow.podbean.com.
Absolutely, yeah. Check it out. Let us know your thoughts about it. It's a little easier way for you to just keep track of all the episodes right there. You can find out a little bit more information about the BG Sports Show and just keep tabs on us as whole. So, all right, Sam, it's time to speak about the Green Bay Packers a little bit more in depth as they claimed a 30-15 victory.
30-13.
30-13, whatever. They
There we
still
go.
won. I mean,
Go, Pack, go!
either way, the Packers still won yesterday fairly handily.
Yes, they did.
Now, I have criticism that I want to deal out, but I think I should wait a little bit. So let's focus on some positives.
Let's start with the positives.
Let's start with some positives.
Because they've been few and far between lately.
Exactly. So Eddie Lacy ran for 100 yards yesterday. What the heck is that about?
Who? Eddie who? Yeah.
Exactly. So
Man.
congratulations, Eddie Lacy, finally remembering how to play football. 22 carries, 100 yards, 4.5 yards carry. That's what Green Bay needs right there, Sam.
That's exactly what you need out of your starting running back that you spent a high draft pick on. And he's in his third season now. He should really be,
It was about time. And what about James Jones yesterday? Finally taking over a game as well. 6 catches, 109 yards,
And a
1
touchdown.
Not bad at all. He had 11 targets, so
He's still getting a lot of looks from Rodgers, which is good.
it is. I mean, I was glad about that. I mean, if you want to look at one thing, is Randall Cobb got targeted 9 times yesterday, only had 2 catches, but
We'll get to that.
we'll get to that. But anyway, though, it was still good to see James Jones step up, have somebody over 100 yards receiving and get a touchdown.
Yeah, 100 yards on the
accompanying that.
ground, 100 yards on, through the air. Mason Crosby, shout out to all you kickers.
Woo!
5 for 5.
I kept getting Snapchats during the game yesterday, like, there's your boy, because I have a Mason Crosby jersey that I wear
Yep.
every game.
Yep.
But he had a fantastic game yesterday with his overall. Good morning for you that are watching in Russia. Hello. Thank you for tuning in on Periscope. But yeah, Mason Crosby, 5 of 5 yesterday, 1 extra point as well. He kicked a 52-yard field goal as his long 16 total points out of the 30 that were scored yesterday.
Hey, you know what? The Packers kept scoring on every drive, it seemed like. And even though they were field goals, their defense, that's what is almost frustrating. Their defense, they are either just terrible or they play really well and hold NFL leading rusher Adrian Peterson to 45 yards on the ground.
I feel like Green Bay needs to just take a moment and figure out what exactly they want to do going the rest of the year, so that
Yeah.
way the rest of us can know what to expect.
Yeah, I think that was a great defensive performance.
It really was. Guys are flying in all over the place. I mean, you see
6 sacks. They registered.
6 sacks.
Yeah.
Dayton Jones finally proving his worth, getting 2 sacks yesterday. Julius Peppers got 1. Mike Daniels, Nate Palmer, Clinton Dix had a beautiful rush off the side. It was a good overall performance from Green Bay.
Very complete. Jeff Janis had his awesome kick return.
Oh,
just
man.
showing some speed, had a nice cutback move.
Right?
Yeah.
I was watching yesterday with my wife and she's like, "Who is that?" I was like, "That's Jeff Janis." She's like, "Who?" I'm like, "Exactly."
Yeah, go Jeff
I'm
Janis.
like, Jeff Janis. She's like, "Is he? Where has he been all year?" I'm like, "Exactly. I don't know why, but now I hope after that return, McCarthy's like, oh, all right, we got a good guy with some speed." So I'm really happy for
A
Jeff.
fast white guy. Who does it sound like? A fast white guy who can play wide receiver.
Jordy Nelson.
Jordy Nelson?
Oh,
Yeah.
And they kept mentioning during the broadcast yesterday too. They're like, "You really can see how this team really misses Jordy Nelson." I'm like, "This team won plenty of games without Jordy Nelson."
Stop talking about it.
Shut your mouth, Troy Aikman. Just shh. Quiet. That could be a whole nother
Say we
segment.
could have a whole segment on Troy Aikman
Great
and Phil
guys.
Buck. But hey,
Great
you know
guys.
what? That's fine.
Exactly. So, aside from that, though, I mean, it was a pretty decent performance overall from Green Bay as a whole. Aaron Rodgers only went 16 of 34 yesterday for 212 yards. Did throw 2 touchdowns. Only sacked twice yesterday, which was good, but I felt like he got sacked more than that for some reason. Seeing that he only got sacked twice, I just felt like he was always under pressure.
Yep.
He was still getting hit. David Bakhtiari continuing to give up foolish
Continuing to be
penalties.
almost useless at this point.
Pretty much. I mean, you and I could probably get out there and tag team block better than Bakhtiari.
Oh,
could.
say if we tag team, maybe.
Yeah, if it's just one of us,
Oh,
no. But
no.
but the two of us together could probably
sure.
probably get to about 300 pounds together
There we
between
go.
the two of us. So
That's fine.
we're
Go-
about
go for the
6'1",
knees.
6'2". Yeah, we'll just chop block the heck out of people and call it a day.
It's fine.
It's legal, right?
Yeah.
But it was a good day though for the Green Bay defense more than the offense. I thought that the offense still looked out of sync a lot of times. I mean, Rodgers only completing 16 of his 34 passes is still very worrisome.
Less than 50% from Aaron Rodgers is not ideal and not expected.
It's not. No, I completely agree with you on that one. So that's about all I've got positive-wise. Do you have anything else positive, Sam?
No, I mean, like we said, it was a very complete performance. They showed flashes of greatness on all sides of the ball, which was awesome. But otherwise, for as great as their defense played, they continue to struggle to guard tight ends, which has been tough. And Kyle Rudolph, in my opinion, is not a physical specimen of a tight end. Yeah, he's talented. He's a starting tight end in the NFL, so obviously
he's doing something right.
He's doing something right, but I will give Teddy Bridgewater a lot of credit for that touchdown pass he threw to Rudolph in the first half. That was a beautifully thrown ball that the only guy who was going to catch it was Rudolph.
Exactly, yeah. And I thought when Teddy threw the ball originally, I was like, that doesn't look like it's going anywhere.
And it looked just kind of dead up there. It was just kind of floating around, but it had exactly enough touch on it to fall right in Rudolph's hand. So shout out to Bridgewater for a good throw. But yeah, the Packers giving up over 100 yards receiving to a tight end position again has been tough.
Exactly. It was nice to see them hold Stephon Diggs and all the rest of the wide receivers. All of them were under 100 yards in some way, shape, or form. But I do want to take a moment to commend Teddy Bridgewater. I thought he played fairly well yesterday, aside from being sacked 6 times. I mean, 25 of 37 is not awful. I mean, he threw for almost 300 yards yesterday as well, posted a 100 quarterback rating.
Yeah, playing turnover-free ball for Teddy Bridgewater. The only turnover that the Vikings had was actually from Adrian Peterson when they were, close to the Packers' red zone later in the game. He coughed up the ball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is kind of a thing with Adrian Peterson where he decides to do that every other game or so. He'll have at least one, which is a little annoying, but if you're a fantasy owner or a Vikings fan, but we don't care about that. So let's look at some negatives then, Sam. What are some negatives that you think you can take away from how Green Bay and Minnesota played yesterday?
Just the inconsistency of their defense. Not that they didn't play well yesterday, but at the same time, they've traditionally struggled against Adrian Peterson. Against the Vikings, it wouldn't have shocked me if Peterson went off for 150, 175 yards on the ground. So it was encouraging to see that, but I just don't know what they're doing different week in and week out. I'm glad, they didn't go 4 games in a row without a sack. They finally capped that at 3, but yeah, their defense, I think, just needs to be a little more consistent across the board.
No, I completely agree with you on that one. And there was flashes of Adrian Peterson in the beginning of the game where he had some nice, 6 to 9 yard runs, and I'm like, oh boy, here we go. Yep, I just kept seeing him break through on those, on those outside handoff plays, and I'm like, oh gosh, this isn't going to end up well. But a negative that I feel like needs to be mentioned is that I felt like coming into this game, Minnesota was the better team. Yep. I thought Minnesota was the better team on paper, across the board. I'm like, this is a game that I thought Minnesota would win. I actually went on the record of chatting with Joel Wolfrath yesterday as we were in the airport coming back, and he's like, all right, what's your prediction for the game? I said Vikings by 5. And I thought that was going to be a very close game. But my criticism of this game actually has nothing to do with Green Bay. It is criticism with Minnesota. I think that Minnesota played down to Green Bay's level.
Yeah.
And when both of those teams played down on the same level, Green Bay is better at playing mediocre football than Minnesota is. And I think Green Bay was like, oh, we're still a better mediocre team.
I'll have to write that down. Green Bay's better at playing mediocre football.
I know, which is it's a little weird to focus on. But if you talk about, you hear about different teams and athletes all the time saying, oh, we played down to their level. It's like, don't ever play down. Play your game. Do what you do. Do what made you, 7-2 yesterday. 7-3 now. Play how you play the game, and that would have helped, I think, Minnesota go so much farther. I mean, this was the 3rd best defense in the NFL that got gouged for 30 points. I mean, yes, I understand they gave up 16 to a kicker. That's not too much you can do about that, so they still had defensive victories.
Yep.
However, I still felt like Minnesota played down to Green Bay's level, and Green Bay, as I mentioned, as weird as it sounds, was the better mediocre football team and was able to win because of that.
True. Yeah, I guess you pretty much summed it up there. I'm not gonna argue with any of those points, but we touched on too, Randall Cobb and Aaron Rodgers need to get back on the same page.
Oh, absolutely.
Randall Cobb is too talented, just too talented to only be getting 2 catches off of 9 targets.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree with you on that one. I mean, you looking at these wide receivers, I mean, it's great that James Jones finally figured out again what was going on and that he was getting targeted a little bit more, but even still, the Green Bay Packers need to figure out what they're going to do with the tight end position as well. Richard Rodgers has been so inconsistent, 3 catches for 7 yards yesterday. I mean, come on. Yeah. You don't have that big of a guy running around. I get it. He's trying to get a little bit more active in his blocking game as well, but even with Devontae Adams coming back as well, this is a Packers team that has numerous options at their hands.
Yep.
Why wasn't Jeff Janis on the field? Why didn't Jeff Janis get targeted more than that one penalty that he got called on.
Yeah.
You've got all these other options that I feel like Green Bay can use in a consistent route. They just don't.
Yeah.
And I think maybe it's the play calling, maybe it's Tom Clements, maybe it's not McCarthy.
I think there's a lot of truth to that play calling aspect because there are sometimes, I refuse to believe that, the average guy from Wisconsin sitting on their couch can probably call a better play on, on a third down than what Tom Clements is calling right now. I'm like, all right, you are getting paid way more money to draw up a play
Agreed.
that has a high success rate of getting a first down or a touchdown or something like that. And when they run these goofy little draws or screens on like 3rd and 12, I'm like, come on.
Oh, exactly. And that actually works out perfectly because I was going to mention something about that. So as I was on my way home yesterday, sitting on the airplane, I was sitting next to a lovely lady. She was chatting with me about football, and I was like, where are you from? Because she had an accent. She's like, oh, I'm from Germany. And she knew everything about the Packers.
Nice.
And I was like, go girl. All right. But she had a very stereotypical name too. She's like, what's my name? I'm like, I'm not supposed to know what your name is. She's like, what's a very German name? I'm like, I don't know, Anna. She's like, exactly. I was like, wow, okay, you guys keep it nice and easy over there. Anyway, she's like, what is up with Coach McCarthy running the ball on 3rd and 8 and 3rd and 10? She's like, why do we do that? I'm like, thank you. Somebody from across the world realizes that this is a problem.
But it's also kind of reminds me of the flip side of the Packers from, a couple years ago when their offense was just red hot. It would be like 3rd and 2 and Rodgers would throw the ball 35 yards to Jordy Nelson.
There he is. Boom. It just doesn't make sense.
It's like we only need 2.5 yards. Yeah. Don't throw it 40. But,
exactly.
Oh, yeah.
But that was what they opened. That was what the play that was open. But it's interesting to see that even people that don't even follow the Packers as closely still get a concept of saying, what is McCarthy doing? Because she's like, why is McCarthy not calling plays, and why are we running the ball on 3rd and 8 and 3rd and 10? I'm like, that is a fantastic question.
If you figure it out,
I wish I could tell you, Anna from Germany, but I had no answer for her. But either way.
I will commend Mike McCarthy, though, because depending on, he might feel the same way, but he's been doing a really nice job of keeping his mouth shut and not throwing Clements under the bus.
True.
So, yeah, regardless of what his opinions are, if he truly believes this is the best move, or if he's thinking to himself, man, I should have kept that position, or I would really call some better plays, I'm glad he's not, stirring the pot in the locker room and causing some problems, because the Packers currently right now, yes, they had a great team win, but they still have a lot of issues to figure out moving forward.
Exactly. Well, coming up on the show a little bit later on, we will have Connor Christensen and his fitness tip, along with some other taking looks into the world of college basketball as well. But first, a word from one of our sponsors, Student Debt Center. You can call now to inquire about your student loans being reduced. That number is 855-401 3508 to make one easy student loan payment and to stop or avoid garnishments from your check. That number again is 855-401-3508.
Yeah, call them for much lower payments based on your income and living circumstances rather than a fixed interest rate. Call now before Congress makes cuts to the national budget, which will nullify this free program. Remember, that number is 855-401-3508. Back with more right after this.
Welcome back to the BG Sports Show, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm back.
And this is Sam.
Just a reminder for all of you social media lovers out there that if you enjoy the BG Sports Show, we encourage you to like the BG Sports Show on Facebook, and you can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at BG Sports Show.
You can find news articles, videos, pictures, and more every day. If you want to follow us on Twitter, we are at Baxter Colbert and at Samuel_Wallace2.
I haven't played it in 4 weeks. I needed to play it, okay?
That's okay.
I needed to play it again. So.
That's fine. You can play it as much as you want.
Okay, trying to just embrace the Packers winning for once. Sorry, it's the one little thing that I needed. Anyway, I'm done. Anyway, moving on. I wanted to take a moment, Sam, to highlight some poor things that are going on in the NFL.
Oh, man.
I know.
More bad news.
More bad news, especially if you're a Baltimore Ravens fan. I know we mentioned it briefly when we were reviewing the games earlier, but Joe Flacco, he's done for the year. Justin Forsett may be done for the year as well. At this point, if you're Justin Forsett, why bother coming back? Your team's 3-7.
Both bones in your arm.
There's not a good chance of coming back before the end of the year. Why would you want to come back? Be like, look, I'm getting paid millions to sit on the bench. Well, that's fine with me. Isn't that the dream, to get paid to do nothing?
I'm telling you, a backup quarterback to Brett Favre would have been like the greatest job. A guy who never missed a game.
Yep.
Just walk around.
Just hanging around.
Hold
you
the clipboard.
Have the clipboard, put a little earpiece in your ear, just chat with Brett Favre as he comes off the field. Like, hey, man, how you doing? You doing good? All right, good. All right, yeah, looking good. All right, get back out there. All right, go, Brett. Woo!
Yep.
Like, Aaron Brooks, Matt Hasselbeck, all those guys, they had the easiest job back in the day. Even Rodgers for a few years, too. Just like hanging out, getting paid,
chilling.
Lots of money to do nothing. It was great. But now that Flacco is done, that has opened the door for Matt Schaub to come back again.
Matt Schaub.
At least according to ESPN.com, that is the next man up on the depth chart, if it is.
Good.
So Matt Schaub is the next man up. If not, it's Brian Renner.
Matt Schaub.
So Matt Schaub will be the
because
starter.
I at least know who that is.
Exactly. I was wondering who would be the starting running back for Baltimore now. I thought it was going to be Lorenzo Taliaferro.
Yeah.
But we saw Javorius Allen yesterday with the man that was carrying a blunt of the carries yesterday, and he looked fairly good as well.
Yeah. He did enough to get the job done.
He did, exactly. So it's unfortunate for Flacco and Forsett both being knocked out now for Baltimore, but realistically, as I was mentioning though, Sam, if you're Justin Forsett, do you bother coming back if you are able to? If you're told, all right, Justin, you can come back in 5 weeks, 6 weeks, hypothetically. That's a really fast recovery time on a broken arm, but do you even bother wanting to come back the rest of the year? Or just say, hey, look, throw me on IR, let's call it a day, I'll be back next year.
Well, in 5 or 6 weeks, that's pretty much going to be almost the end of the season.
Exactly, that's the thing. I mean,
yeah.
Do you bother? Your team's not going to the playoffs, barring a massive collapse from any other team in the AFC.
No, I don't see it happening. So, yeah, I mean, if you're Justin Forsett, just get healthy and get to work for next year.
Exactly. No, I completely agree with you on that one. It's been a bad year for Baltimore after they lost Terrell Suggs, and just the team was supposed to be going so much better as a whole than what they were.
And the thing is, too, the Ravens have lost so many games by a combined total of not very many points. I'd have to look up the exact number, but of a lot of their losses, they've been just nail biters.
Oh, they have. I mean, looking at some of these games this year, I mean, they lost. Let's just run through it fast. 19-13 week 1, 37-33 they lost week 2, 28-24 week 3. Then they finally won in overtime 23-20 against Pittsburgh. Then they lost the next week in overtime 33-30. They lose to San Francisco 25-20. They lose to the Cardinals 26-18, their biggest loss of the year. They beat San Diego 29-26. They lose to Jacksonville 22-20, and then they just beat the Rams 16-13.
That's what I mean. So
how crazy is that?
Whether they put up 30 points or 10 points, they're always going to be, it seems, within 3 points.
This is very resemblance of what we saw from Minnesota last year, because Minnesota lost a lot of close games last year, and we're like, well, hey, if they had just had 2 or 3 of those games go in their favor, that Minnesota Vikings team might have been a playoff team, this, that, and the other. But people even could have mentioned that when Aaron Rodgers started his first year in the league, too. I mean, they went 6-10, but how many of those games did they lose by like a combined total of 7 or less points?
So it's one of those things, too, where the Ravens, not a bad football team. When you really start to break down the numbers, they just need to finish.
Exactly, yeah. We have somebody on Periscope, David C. Gen 66, saying, go Panthers 10-0. I mean, you guys are looking good down there, but I don't know exactly. We've got a special segment just about the Panthers tomorrow, so you're going to want to catch on that if you can. But something else I want to highlight for us, Sam, is the fact that Dallas recovered from the injury bug. They got Des Bryant back from a broken foot a few weeks ago, and now they got Tony Romo back for the first time all season. Well,
which means they can win again.
And they did.
Because their quarterback is Tony Romo.
Obviously. Yeah, he came back, had a pretty darn good day, tossed 2 touchdowns. Not terrible, but
Yeah.
Des Bryant and Tony Romo have combined for now 50 touchdowns as a whole as a receiving pair.
Yeah.
That is the most in Cowboys history. Troy Aikman to Michael Irvin was happening 49 times, and Tony Romo to Jason Witten has happened 37 times. But it's obvious the Romo-Bryant duo is very dynamic.
Yeah,
so
it's incredible. And Romo, a credit to the announcers who were talking about it too. They said Romo just makes guys around him better. He just brings a lot of life, a lot of energy. He's fun to watch. He's always kind of got that goofy smile on his face. He's ready to play football.
True.
He reminds me of just this kid who's out there playing, and he just slings it around. He stands in the pocket. He takes hits.
Yep, he's having a good time.
Yeah, he's fun to watch, which is cool.
So Dallas is in last place in the NFC East with the 3-7 record. However, the Giants are in first place with a 5-5 record.
Yeah,
Dallas has to go through Carolina, Washington, Green Bay, the Jets, the Bills, and the Redskins to finish out the year. Does Dallas make it to the playoffs?
gosh, I don't think so. They could. It's there. I think it's there for the taking. If they want it bad enough and they go out there and win enough games, I think they could do it. But I think Romo's gone probably 2 weeks too long.
I think so, yeah. I mean, they needed to grab at least a victory. They should have beaten Tampa that other week, 2 weeks ago. They only lost 10-6.
Yeah.
Aside from that, though, they haven't been in any other game. I mean, they lost to the Saints 26-20, the Giants 27-20. Oh, I'm sorry. They lost to the Seahawks 13-12. So there's about 3 games that could have gone their way, but Brandon Weeden or whoever was throwing the ball for them couldn't make it work after that time. So if you're Dallas moving forward, yes, you'd like to think you've got maybe a smidge of a chance, but I don't think that Tony Romo coming back is going to be enough. They would have to win out, and that involves the Giants, the Redskins, and the Eagles, which I'm not really worried about the Redskins and the Eagles. I'm more worried about the Giants.
Yep.
I'm not really worried about the Giants down the stretch, though, because I think they've already got a 2-game lead on them. They've already, but although the Cowboys did beat the Giants week 1, so they do own that tiebreaker if it were to come to that as well, though.
It could. It's one of those things, too, where after that week 1 loss for the Giants, there was really, really poor clock management on the part of the Giants offense and Eli Manning. And somebody on ESPN made a note, 2 or 3 weeks into the year, and they, kind of almost that the prophetic, the prophetic statement about the rest of the season for the Cowboys. They said, when Romo comes back and the Cowboys start winning again, the Giants are going to look back and realize that poor clock management in that first game of the year might cost them.
It's true. No, that's absolutely true. I mean, looking at who the Giants play the rest of the year, they play the Redskins, they play the Jets, the Dolphins, the Panthers, the Vikings, and the Eagles. So the Giants have the easier schedule out of the two between the Giants and the Cowboys. Against the Redskins, should be a victory. The Jets,
who knows?
Maybe.
Whichever Jets team shows up.
Exactly. Against the Dolphins, should be a victory. Carolina, I don't know.
Carolina's playing too well right now. I don't see the Giants beating the Panthers.
I don't think so. Minnesota, after the way they played yesterday, but this is a few weeks down the road, so this is a good opportunity. The game's at Minnesota as well.
Yep.
So they probably will lose that one. Then they play at Philly to close out the year. So I think the Giants will grab 3 more wins, 4 more wins. They will not win 10 games this year. I can tell you that right now. The Giants will not win 10 games this year. No.
That's all right.
So 6, 7.
That might be enough, though.
It's true. I mean, if they win 8 games this year, that might be all they need, honestly.
It's true.
Exactly. I don't know. Anyway, all right, well, we're going to jump to a break. We want to take a moment, though, to remind all of you, you can listen to the BG Sports Show right here, live from 7 to 8 a.m. Central on Spreaker.com and on Periscope as well, every Monday through Friday.
We are also broadcast from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Central Time on SportsRadioAmerica.com, live through 65, and tune in. Come check us out, and we will be back with more after the break.
Welcome back to the BG Sports Show, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax.
And this is Sam.
Just a reminder for all of you out there that if you enjoy listening to the BG Sports Show, we'd like to ask you to consider becoming a financial supporter of the BG Sports Show as well. You can do that on multiple different platforms, and we'd love it if you were to help out the growth of the show as a whole.
And you can find out now how to donate on our website at bgsportshow.podbean.com, and then click on Becoming a Patron in the top right corner of the webpage. And we thank you for your continued support of our sports show.
Trying to abuse it as much as I can today, honestly.
That's fine.
I mean, it's the only time I feel like we're going to get to play it all season. Now, they'll win more than one game the rest of the year, but still, I haven't played that in 4 weeks. Anyway, the Packers won yesterday. Sam and I are still a little drunk on that, so we're thrilled by that. However, we're going to flip away from the football world for a little while.
Just a little bit.
And venture a little bit south.
Where are we going?
To Madison.
Ooh.
We're not going to a party. We're not doing none of that, so relax. Don't be freaking out. We're not going to a Badger football game.
I don't want to talk about it.
It's kind of irrelevant. They lost to the Northwestern, for gosh sake. So anyway, no, we're talking about Badger basketball. The Badgers are 3-2 to get off the season. They've only played 5 games, obviously, thus far, because that's what 3 + 2 equals.
Good job.
Thank you. Math and stuff. I was homeschooled. What do you want from me? Anyway, they haven't really played anybody too significant yet, aside from Georgetown and VCU. But they split those games. They lost to Georgetown 71-61, but then they beat VCU 74-73. Sam, your thoughts on how the Badgers have done so far this year?
They're showing a lot of their youth, but I think they're responding well to the challenge. They're giving up more points than they gave up last year. They haven't been as locked down on defense as they would have liked to be, but obviously that week 1 or that first loss that against Western Illinois University, they lost by 2 points.
How do you lose that game?
That was a tough way to start. They bounced back very well against Siena and just dropped 92 points on them and walked away, which is great. University of North Dakota handled decently
play
well.
Basketball in North Dakota?
Apparently, if there's not enough snow. But
why do they play outside?
Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, their first big true test against I would consider to be more of a powerhouse team was against the Georgetown Hoyas. They did lose by 10 points, but to Georgetown's credit, they turned around the following day and gave Duke all they could handle, and Duke edged out a win 88-86 over the Hoyas, and that was basically off of Grayson Allen's 32 points off the bench, the sophomore guard. So, yes. Question?
What's a Hoya?
I'm not even sure.
Can someone Google that?
Sure,
I'm going to Google that while
you should have somebody in the studio Google what a Hoya is.
What's a Hoya?
But the Badgers turned around off of that loss to Georgetown.
Not a Yahoo, a Hoya.
And beat the Virginia Commonwealth University Rams, VCU. I always forget that means Virginia Commonwealth. So whenever it actually whenever it writes it out, I'm always like, who's Virginia Commonwealth? It's like, VCU, the Rams, got it. But yeah, the Badgers played very, very well against the Rams over the weekend. Bronson Koenig just dropping bombs. Yeah, go ahead.
I found out what a Hoya is.
What's a Hoya?
A Hoya is a climbing or sprawling evergreen shrub with ornamental foliage and waxy flowers, native to Southeast Asia and the Pacific, and grown as a greenhouse or an indoor plant.
So the Georgetown trees, huh?
Basically.
That's what you're telling me?
They're evergreen shrubs with ornamental foliage.
I think I liked the Hoyas better when I didn't know what a Hoya was.
Now they're very pretty. Would you like to look what a Hoya looks like?
I would love to listen.
Where is it?
It's just too bad all the people on the air can't see what a Hoya is.
I had it. Dang it, Hoya. Anyway,
that's fine.
This is the Hoya. That's the Hoya right there.
Okay.
It's pretty.
Quaint.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Not intimidating at all.
Anyways, back to Badger basketball.
Woo! Sorry.
It has been nice to see them really put together some complete performances thus far from their young team. Just pulling up some stats here. Of their starting 5, their starting 5 guys, Bronson Koenig, Nigel Hayes, Vito Brown, Ethan Happ, Zach Showalter. 4 of their starting 5 guys currently through the first 5 games are averaging more than 10 points a game.
Which is good.
Bronson Koenig averaging 17 points a game, Hayes 14 points a game, and Bronson Koenig was the guy tabbed at the beginning of the year as being a potential breakout player of the year candidate, and not necessarily because of in a unique situation for him, not necessarily because of his talent level, which is there, but mostly because he's going to be forced into that role, whether he likes it or not.
We had a feeling that Bronson Koenig was going to be the catalyst of this offense this year, aside from maybe Nigel Hayes. But both of those guys have stepped up. They're averaging 34 and 35 minutes a game with that 17 and 14-point margin a game as well. So they're being crucial to the success of the Badger basketball team so far.
Yeah, I think one guy I really want to touch on for sure is Ethan Happ, and he's been the freshman big man for the Badgers, and he's going to have a lot.
6'9".
Yeah, 6'9", 230 pounds out of Northern Illinois, which is going to be big for him. he's going to have to play big. He started off not great, 4 points in his debut, 8 points against Siena, but then 17 points against North Dakota, 12 points against Georgetown, 12 points against VCU, being very consistent and shooting very, very well.
It's true, and he's getting up tall, too. I mean, he had 11 rebounds against Georgetown. He had 10 rebounds against VCU, so he's trying to he's grown into his body. You've seen his numbers almost increase every single game, so that's very encouraging for the Badgers going down the stretch when they have to finally take on more talented squads. Not that VCU isn't.
Yeah, and it's true, though, because once they get into Big Ten play is very physical, and it's very... It depends. Generally, it's pretty slow paced. You got to make the most of your possessions. Offensive rebounds are huge, and just keeping guys off the glass and things like that. But as we've seen before, Bo Ryan is phenomenal at developing young players, sometimes very quickly too. Ethan Happ is not a very raw, talented, flashy player, but he's got a great skill set to be able to buckle down and really learn a lot.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you talk about the Big Ten schedule. That doesn't tip off until December 29th against Purdue. That will be a home game for the Badgers. They play their first... Oh, good Lord. They play their first 2 games. 2 games at home against in the Big Ten schedule. Then they go to Indiana. But, yeah, their Big Ten schedule this year is going to be very interesting. I'm curious to know how they stack up against teams like Maryland, who are ranked number 3 in the country right now. Even Michigan and Ohio State. They finally got Ohio State on the docket again this year as well. So that'll be good to see them play them.
Yeah, so there are a lot of good Big Ten teams this year. And what's new for the Badgers is they're not one of the best Big Ten teams on paper heading into the season. So they're going to be an underdog, which for every guy in this roster is going to be new for them because, the 2 veterans per se in Hayes and Koenig, all they know are Final Fours. All they know are winning traditions. So it's going to be a good test for them moving forward this season.
Absolutely. No, I completely agree with you on that one. I'm curious to see what they can do going down the stretch. Some upcoming games for them, though. They do take on Prairieville A&M. They take on number 8 Oklahoma and Syracuse as well in their next 3 games. What's the Badgers' record after those 3 games, Sam?
Optimistically, I'm going to say 2-1.
Okay, fair enough. So they'll go to 5-3.
Yep.
After the upcoming 3 games.
That Oklahoma game is going to be tough. It's going to be tough and fun. There we go.
There we go. It's a new word. All right. Well, we'll be back with more here with Connor Christensen and his fitness tip right here on the BG Sports Show. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the BG Sports Show, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax.
And I'm Connor.
Good morning, Connor. It is Monday, which means it's time for your fitness tip. Are you recovered after that Vikings loss yesterday?
Yeah, well, I mean, I kind of knew it was going to happen.
That's true.
Yeah,
It
I've been a Vikings fan for too long that every time they do well, they have a couple wins, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm waiting for them to crash and burn and take all my hopes and dreams with them.
Ah.
And they haven't quite crashed and burned and taken all my hopes and dreams with them.
Sorry, I need to do
Thanks
that
for
at least
that.
once with you on the air. Anyway,
for
sorry.
that.
Well, that's not why we're here, though. We're not here to talk about the
No,
Vikings.
no,
we're
we're
here to
not.
talk about your fitness tip, as we do on Mondays. So what do you got for us today?
So today, you know what? I've been toying with a couple different things that I could talk about this morning.
Okay.
So I'm going to decide right now which of the three I want to talk about.
Fair enough. Nice and prompt. I love it. Okay, what do you got?
I haven't done this in a while. We'll do this. Well, I'm gonna do a how to be a better athlete segment. So because I haven't done one of those.
Okay, I like that.
In quite a while. So let me see. How many have I talked about? I've done a couple. I remember being offensive lineman, throwing,
Yep.
kicking. So today we're going to talk about speed. How can I become faster as an athlete? Which most athletes try to become faster. So very relevant. And I will say this: speed and endurance are two of the most simple things to train
True.
for.
Yep.
They are incredibly difficult to become very proficient in or very good at, but the training behind it is actually pretty simple.
Oh, okay.
So if you're looking at becoming faster, you have to work on your explosiveness and your power.
Yes.
So ways to do that: obviously, we get faster with our legs, and arms help us push forward. So we're going to do a lot of squats. Squats are going to be the foundation of the body, so that you can actually run. And obviously, your legs are what are moving you.
Usually.
Your core strength helps you basically in every way. It stabilizes you and allows you to have more control over your body.
Okay.
So core strength is a must for speed.
What are your thoughts about calf raises? I've done those in the past with soccer, at least, and kicking for explosiveness with kicking, at least. I don't
Yeah.
know if that translates over, though, to running speed.
Calf raises are good, but it's much more of a physique.
Okay.
You're tailoring when you do calf raises. You're tailoring that to a physique building routine.
Sure.
So basically, you're trying to get them to get bigger.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right. And I'm much more a fan, if we're talking about the athlete, to think about it in an athletic way. So a much better way for you to train your calves while you're an athlete would be to do skips. Try to propel yourself up into the air on one leg.
Okay.
The basic skip.
Yeah.
Skip whatever, and then each time you try to push your body higher, and you throw your arms out, and you throw one leg up, and you're pushing yourself into the air. That would be
Interesting.
a good
Okay.
one.
Well, that makes sense.
I also like ankle hops, because that is a very good calf exercise that also stabilizes your ankles.
Interesting. Okay. What if, in my case at least, one of the big things that I struggled with right after my right foot surgery was getting my explosiveness back, both kicking and running, and I had to do all
Absolutely.
kinds of different things. But is it something like that, an ankle hop, though, something good for someone that had surgery on their foot?
Okay, yes, I see where you're coming from here. I would definitely say for someone who has had surgery, definitely follow the procedures that have been put forth by your healthcare physician, professional, whatever. Going off of that, they like to do a lot of calf raise type exercises, and that makes perfect sense for someone who's just coming off of surgery.
Yeah,
because you need to first get that muscle working again. You need to stabilize it in a way that allows you to do those high impact type of exercises. And to be perfectly honest, ankle hops might not be best for someone who came off of a foot surgery.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. I remember doing a lot of different balancing acts. Like, I don't remember what the little circular
Bosu
rubbery
ball?
thing. Yeah, you'd just basically stand on it with one foot and try to balance for 30 seconds
I
a
can't
minute.
do that. I can't do that, and I never had surgery.
Exactly. For me, too, I was just kind of like, okay. But I do remember doing the calf raises where you would do a different exercise where you'd go up with both ankles, and then you would pick up your dominant ankle and then come down just one ankle on my weaker ankle.
And that's too. Normally, when you're starting with starting the actual exercise, you want to use both legs because you're not gonna hurt yourself.
Exactly. Yeah.
By just using.
And it did. It took some pressure off of my leg right away, but that did help. I felt
all dominant leg or all non-broken foot leg.
It was, yeah. My left leg was very much more in tune with what was going on, but my right leg took a while because I lost a lot of muscle in my right calf as well after surgery from not using it and being in a boot as well for 3 or so months as well.
Yeah, that'll definitely happen.
It did, yeah.
That's definitely a tricky, like, how do I get my explosiveness back after having a foot surgery? And physical therapists know what they're doing. It's doing those balancing type acts really works the stabilizer muscles in the bottom in your, well, it's called your leg, but the top half of your leg, your thigh,
yes,
and then the leg is the bottom part. But how do you get your explosiveness back? You have to first make the foundation of it very strong. So all of the smaller muscles that you wouldn't necessarily train, because when you're training your legs, you train the front thigh, the back thigh, and then the calves. And that's kind of about it.
That's all you really need to do. Yeah.
But you have so many muscles in your leg total.
True. Yeah.
And working on different balancing acts, like with the Bosu ball, standing on it on one leg, it burns, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. It does. Absolutely.
After a while, you're working muscles you didn't even know you had.
Exactly. That was especially like and maybe it was just the fact that I hadn't used my right foot a lot. Obviously during surgery, I couldn't move it a ton, but there were a lot of times where I'd finish my exercise and they'd be like, how's your ankle feel? My ankle felt like it was on fire. And I'm just like, I don't know if I'm doing the exercise wrong or if I'm just aggravating something or whatever, but it was multiple times where I'd have to ice my foot after the fact because my foot would just be inflamed from all the overuse.
Yeah. That's the good and the bad thing about physical therapy is, they know exactly how to make you as efficient as, how to get healthy as quickly as possible.
Yes.
But it hurts.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, it hurts.
No, I completely agree with you on that one. All right. Well, then just a quick recap then on the explosiveness then for our listeners.
So explosiveness. So you get your speed, your power from working core strength, from doing squats, and doing a lot of jumping activities helps build up that explosiveness as well. And that it helps you be able to move your legs faster with more power in the calves like you were talking about. And you will be, I guarantee you'll get faster if you do squats, deadlifts, core strength, and work on jumping.
Fantastic. All right, well, Connor, thank you, sir. Appreciate you stopping by as you do here on Mondays for your fitness tip. And if you enjoy the UFC world as well, you can normally catch Connor on Thursdays as well, although we won't have a show on Thursday or Friday because of it being Thanksgiving. So if it works in your schedule, maybe we'll have you back either tomorrow or Wednesday or something to talk about Fight Corner. We'll mention it sometime on the air, so don't miss out on that. But Connor, thank you, sir. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll be chatting with you again later on in the week.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for tuning in to another edition of the BG Sports Show that has been presented by Sports Radio America. Special thanks to my co-host Sam Wallace for his insights into the NFL world today and also into the Wisconsin Badger basketball world as well. Reminder for all of you that you can find us right here on Spreaker.com from 7 to 8 a.m. Central live, and you can also get us on Periscope as well. So hello and good morning to all of you that watched us on Periscope. Thank you for that. You can also find us right here on Sports Radio America from 11 to 1 p.m. Central Time and on demand on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spreaker.com, and on Podbean as well. For those of you that want to get a hold of us on social media, you can find us on Facebook at The BG Sports Show. You can also find us on Twitter at BG Sports Show. I am at Baxter Colburn. Sam is at Samuel_Wallace2. You can follow us on Instagram as well at BG Sports Show. And if you ever want to email the show, shoot us an email at bgsportshow@gmail.com. Special thanks again to Connor Christensen for stopping by the studio today, and for my co-host Sam Wallace. I'm Baxter Colburn. We'll see you all again tomorrow. Enjoy your day, everybody.